Shabbat Shalom. You know, the tradition, the Masoret, the Masor, in the Jewish style is, we have traditions. And you know, I like when I saw fiddlers on the roof, the song, tradition, tradition. And this is one of the traditions that sometimes we follow blindly sometimes, and we do not understand why or we do it. One of the things is that our beloved sages, our beloved rabbis, you know, they are always trying to make a point with the scripture, and sometimes they exaggerate, to say the least. And their exaggeration sometimes comes what I call it adulation, you know? And we're trying to, the adulation to the Creator, and the Creator doesn't need adulation. What he needs is to serve him, and that is Avodat Adonai, you know, serving him. And serving him is not doing something for him, because he doesn't need exactly nothing from us, but is serving our neighbors, serving the people who are around us, our community. How many times I have been telling you about that we as individuals, we are very special before the eyes of the Creator. Each one of us, believe me or not, has a purpose in life. Each one of us, we have something special to give. And it's very sad to me to meet so many people that they do not have that special understanding that I am here to give something. And we are now in a mentality, we are in a generation of give me, give me, give me. No, it's not the generation of giving, it's only what is for me. Many times we get involved with things because what is the best for me, you know, what I can get from it, instead to think about what I can do for others and how I can participate to be part of the community in which I give. In the portion of this week, we have read, you know, is the Devarim, Deuteronomy chapter 14 to 16. But here in this first portion, the first aliyah that we made, we read about the special giving that we need to do in the festival, and at the same time, very clear at the end of the first portion, they say, at the end of every 3 years, bring all your tithes to a special place. And this tithe is especially for whom? For the Levi, for the foreigner, for the orphan, and for the widows. In other words, it's for the people who have less. And we cannot forget those ones who has less. And always we need to remember about bringing for the others, not to be all locked on ourselves. One of the things with the time I have discovered is that we are locked in our possessions, you know? And sometimes our possessions owns us instead of us owning our possessions, okay? And it's very sad, to me, it's very sad that we're constantly almost struggling with everything, because we do not know if we are or we are not, and we are worried about everything. We live in fear, a state of fear. And life is life, and we need to continue going. The Creator has this idea with Israel. You know, we need to understand the time of Pesach and why Pesach is so important for us. Because we talk about deliverance, you know, but there are many types of deliverance. No? But one of the most difficult type of deliverance is what I call it a spiritual deliverance. Because there are many people, believe me or not, that they are multimillionaires. They are wealthy, but they are still trapped. You know, they have their own prisons, and sometimes they have the most horrible type of life. And a person who barely has, the very, very simple person, lives much better and is happier than those that they have millions and millions of dollars. Then wealth is not the best thing sometimes to help you. I remember the famous words of my father, blessed be his name, that he used to say, my son, money doesn't give you happiness, but helps a lot. You know? And then it all depends how you see certain things and you don't depend. Then are you depending on material things, or are you depending on yourself and your relationship with the Creator? The Creator has made you. And this is what we're talking about, deliverance. When you start understanding yourself and your relationship with your environment and relationship with the Creator. One of the things is our sages trying to give us a lot of traditions and emphasize certain things. And with the time, we lost the criteria, or we lost the understanding why we are celebrating certain things. To the point that we put more interest, in the rules and regulations than in the meaning of the festival, or the Hag. And we are so worried about how much we eat, when do we eat, how many days, what is this? I come from the Sephardi background, that we're very simple. The only thing that we don't need to eat is leaven. What is leaven? Is bread, period. Anything else. If you're an Ashkenaz, man, you cannot eat rice, you cannot eat beans, you cannot eat this, you cannot eat that. You have anything that grows, you need to go down. Everything is bad. We have an easier life. We are not, but the problem is that what is happening right now, even among the Sephardim world, the Ashkenazim mentality are winning. And that's what I call a religiosity. And fanaticism is bad because it doesn't make you think. And one of the greatest things that the Creator has given to you and to me is this. I call it Bechirah Hofshi, free will, the capability to think for ourselves. We are always allowing others to think for us. Look at right now the world. Look at this time. Only I can give you a simple example on only what has happened this last month recently. Do you remember what happened in New Zealand? There was a crazy man who was a white man and who was belongs to a Christian religion or whatever, and killed so many in a mosque. Terrible thing. I totally agree with you. Okay? And then, just this last week in Sri Lanka, you see terrorists with bombs and everything kill more than 400 people. Everywhere. In New Zealand, how ugly were these neo-Nazis or these white people, white supremacists? Everything was terrible. With Sri Lanka, no one that have been mentioned who these people are. It's hush hush. Because we live under the pressure of being political, theological, and sociological correct. And you cannot say anything bad about the people that are the untouchable. And for the Creator, there are no untouchables. The truth needs to be told. And the Barim say, Sedek, Sedek Tirdov. Justice, justice must pursue. No matter what. But we are afraid to say anything. Here in Canada, it's very sad when they call about. Now there is a term, Islamophobia. You know, you cannot say anything. You cannot make a comment because you are considered somebody who is praised and bringing hate. And I say, why the people who belong to that religion don't speak out against that? Because you don't need to defend what is evil. And the problem is here because we are now following rules and regulations of the world instead to follow the principles that the Torah is giving to us. And these rules and regulations are replacing Torah's principles. Now, for example, it's okay to accept everybody. And you cannot say anything if you disagree about something. That it is already accepted and popular now. And you are a minority, you need to shut your mouth and don't say anything. Because whatever you say is going to be considered a hate speech. The same way happened in the religious world. When you consider something that the religious people are teaching and you say, that's not right. And you say, what is that in the scriptures? What is in the Torah? Oh, you're a revolt. Because you're questioning us. You're questioning the very holy people. And it is this constant life that we are here. And the question is, have we been liberating? Are we really free? Or we are worse than ever? Pesach is something that we need to understand about becomes freedom. The Creator is against slavery. And slavery is giving your will to somebody else, to surrender your will. You know what is interesting? He never asked that we surrender our will to Him. What He asks us is to go to Him willingly, not to surrender. It's very different. And if you don't go willingly, He doesn't want anything from you. He doesn't force you. But a man, they put you the pistol on the head. In those religions that you don't believe like they believe what they do. They kill you. They destroy you. Right now, to me, it's very sad. One of the most powerful, supposedly, religions in the world is the Catholic religion, no? The Christian religion that has a lot of things. And right now, in these last years, the most of the killing against is the Catholic religion. And what about the number one? The speaker for the house, I call it. Nothing. Doesn't condemn those ones who are killing their own people. They say that we the Jews, that we are the crying baby because we are always saying anti-Semitism, anti-Semitism, you know? We have gone through that. And we know what it means to keep your mouth shut. We know the horrors of the Shoah. Because when you keep your silence, you are giving the right to others. And it's time that we start talking. not about challenging others, not about trying to get in a fight. That's not the idea. But the idea is to speak out. The Creator talked to the people of Israel through Moshe Rabbeinu. I told them that you need to get out of that place. And Israel was not totally convinced about that. They needed to, they were already brainwashed, if we can say in that way. They already has acquired what I call it the slave mentality. And you will be surprised how many of us today, we have that slave mentality. You will be surprised. We follow what others they tell us instead for us to make our own decisions. That's a slave mentality. You do what your master tells you. I have a problem sometimes with young people. Because young people, the only thing that they're doing is following what is the last, what do you call it, the last fashion, the last fad, the last trend. You know? I prefer to see young people that they are themselves, that they are imitators of others. But that is for all of us too. How many of us, we don't have our own personality, and we keep imitating others? Even in certain religion, they teach you, imitate this, imitate that. Stop teaching those things. You don't need to imitate anybody. You need to be the best who you are, without imitating anybody. Because you need to take out what the Creator has given to you to serve others. But I am speaking against the current. Because I teach the Torah as a living being. As the Torah is not only a product of do's and don'ts. The Torah is a way of life. It's something that you need to practice every day in your life. It is not about how you eat or how you sleep. It's about what you do with your life, with others. How you put your life to help others. That's what I was talking here. You know, the Jewish people are known for being the most generous people in the world. You know, the small number, 14 million supposedly today in the world, give more per capita than the rest of the world together. And we have multi-millionaires on the other side. Ask those rich countries how much money they give to the world. And one of the countries that gives more right now in all over the world is the United States. It's very interesting. Give more than any other country in the world. The United Nations was being held by the United States, even there. And the other rich countries don't give pennies. And what is the influence in the United States? Believe me or not, it's the Jewish contingency who has changed that mentality of helping and giving to others. Do you know, just this week, you know what was the first country that went through Sri Lanka taking a hospital and doctors? Israel. What is telling you with those things? You know how much you talk. It's what you do. That is the true freedom for Pesach. It's not to be following rules. It's doing what is right. You know how many steps you will go forward and how many steps you go backwards. It is not if you did it right or wrong in the sense of supposedly how the true worship. It is what you really have within yourself. You know, I love tradition. I have my traditions. But I always say, a good tradition is the one that helps you to elevate the name of the Creator and that helps you to have a better relationship with Him. But one of the things that is killing that good relationship is about becoming or doing things by memory, by rote, you know? You do things only repeating instead of understanding. I always say to people, when we do the Siddur and we are doing the service, please, if you don't understand the Hebrew, read it in the language that you can understand it. And read what you are saying. Don't go only through the motions. Understand. And many of us, we only go through the motions. And we don't understand a word. We publish a blog every week. To my sadness, I ask the people, how many of you have read this blog? Very few, or almost none. And I say, why don't we spend so much energy if nobody cares? The only thing I want is the 1, 2, 3 step. And you know what it does when you become so mechanical? You lose your relationship with the living God. Because you become so mechanical that you think you are worshiping God. But what you are doing is only being a robot. And the Creator didn't make us robots because He wants us willingly. I repeat that word over and over and over again. He wants you. He doesn't want your actions, your acts, your performances. I ask sometimes people, how many of you understand what this Siddur, these words tell us, and do you understand what you are reading? And somebody look at me like I am asking something very difficult. How many times, and this is the sad part, how many times we go to an act or we do something only to make mere presence, but really we are not there. We need to be alive, and we need to walk with the Creator, and we need to be glad that we are here and that we are alive, and the Creator is for now. I already talked about yesterday, today, or tomorrow. We are from the past or we are in the future, and we forget the most important thing is now. Our children, they need our example. And they need to learn from basic things about what it means, the things. Not about the rules, but about the meaning, the principles. And we as adults, we need to get rid of these rules and regulations and be free to apply the principles in our life. Our sages added one extra day for Pesach when you are outside Israel. You are in the diaspora. And because of that, beginning this week, our calendars are going to be different, our readings. Because here we are reading the 8th day of Pesach. What the Torah doesn't teach you about 8 days. Sorry, but my dear friend, but there is no 8 day of Pesach. It's only in the imagination of somebody who was over jealous or overzealous to trying to make God bigger than what he is when God doesn't need to be. Our Creator doesn't have an ego like we have. And we do not need to adore adulation to him. And will be great if we have only the 7 days of Pesach, and today will be we Israel doing a Harei Mot, going back to Vayikra. And everybody will be together. And the only thing that they have get this is to separate us from Israel. That's the consequences of tradition. And sometimes don't even we understand why we add the extra days. Sometimes they say, because we need to worship God more and we need to give him more. You know? These ideas came from the time of the Babylons and the two greatest schools. You know? And they were ahead of time of Jerusalem. And in order to be closer to Jerusalem, to celebrate more or less together, they added an extra day. But what about those ones who are in the West? They need to start before. But I once make a rule. You follow a rule blindly, even without understanding why you do it. It's only, I was told that that's the way. I will never forget one day when I went to, I was in the States, and I went to a house that they were celebrating Pesach, and I was very limited in my income at that time. And the only thing I could bring to them for there was a communal supper, you know. I brought a little bit of rice. I almost was lynched. How in the world you bring rice on Pesach? You don't know that we don't eat rice on Pesach. And some of the people who were telling me that they don't eat rice on Pesach were not Jews. And I felt so bad. And they threw my rice. Because, yeah, they couldn't give it. No, they threw it. Because I was contaminating. That it is how cookie you are. Cuckoo, you call it. When you follow blindly. A blind following a blind goes directly to this. And you know, that's what our great Rabbi Yashuv was talking to us. He was not against the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He was not against the people of Israel. Totally the contrary. He was for. Where he was, and still, most of us, we have a little bit of brain to think we are against organized religion. That has become a big business. That's very powerful, dominates. And I always have compared organized religion with politicians, political parties. All the same. You know, when you are called by God to serve, is to serve. Not to be served, it's to serve. Most of those ones that are in the government, those ones at the top, need to do adulation to those people. You know, go to any office of the government, and you have there a simple employee there who is being paid by your taxes, by your sweat. They stand there and they are like God. Instead they to serve you, you need to bow bow your head and lower your head, and then I need to smile a lot even if they insult you. You say you are so good and so nice because you're afraid that they're not going to do what is right. How many times I have seen this type of state government employers who they have a lot of power on decisions. And people who are suffering for getting something. The worst thing I've seen is in immigration. Those people who are there, because there are people that they are basically begging for the possibility to get in, and they are treated like nothing, worse than slaves. This is the world that we live. And the Creator is not too happy with that. We're in a generation right now of entitlement. We're in a generation that we think people owe us something. And we are the ones that we need to give. Like they say, it's more blessed to give than to receive. And it's my desire at this time of Pesach, at the end, according to their sages, the 8th day, that there is no 8th day, but they say that the 8th day, that we will be prepared to be more part of that community and to work harder for each other. That's my desire. That you understand why you are here. You understand what is your place. And that you understand that this is not only an exercise of utility, but it's something very special because make us grow, make us bigger. And each one of us, we are special in the eyes of God. Shabbat Shalom.